We comprise of cashiering, student accounts, and disbursements. And we're the ones that manage tuition and fees. So anything charges or payment related, we're the ones that can assist you. We do with individual payments, installment plans. We disperse financial aid. We help with third-party sponsor contracts. We deal with the 529 college saving plans. We're the ones that issue refunds. And we also deal with 1098T tax documentation in January. One important resource for you guys will be the Student Center. So the students will be able to log in, and the nice thing about the Student Center is they can do everything online. We do offer in-person services, but anything you can do in person, you can also do online. So that includes viewing charges, due dates, any account activity. If you need to make a payment, that can be done online as well through a credit card or an e-check. And students do have the option to send parents or family members a link to pay on their behalf. So that's new this upcoming semester. So students have that option as well. On their Student Center, they can enroll in payment plans, sign up for e-refund, which we do highly recommend. Anytime the university needs to refund a student, it will go back to their bank account on file. Otherwise, a paper check has to be created and mailed, which just causes a little bit more of a time delay. So the quickest and most secure way is through e-refund. And then again, we have 1098T tax documents. If your student qualifies to receive one, they'll automatically have that available in January. Just a quick overview about tuition and fees. So for California residents, they're charged on a per unit, not on a per unit basis, but in the aggregate. So 0 to 6 units is considered part-time, and students are charged at a part-time rate. Anything above that is going to be charged at a full-time rate. So whether they're in 7 units, 10 units, 12, 15, they're going to be charged one full-time rate. There are some exceptions to that. If the student is a non-resident of California, they're going to be charged on a per unit basis on top of their basic tuition, part-time and full-time. Another example would be like MBA fees. That also is charged on an additional per unit basis as well. So just keep that in mind when you're viewing the charges on the account. Each student has their unique circumstances. For payment due dates, as soon as the student registers, they're going to be able to see on their Student Center exactly when their charges are due. So we do highly recommend after the registration period, the student goes onto their account and takes a look at when they need to pay. Right now, for an example, if a student were to register today, the next major payment deadline would be July 17th. If the student registers after that date, the next payment deadline would be August 14th. And then if they register after that date, it would be due the next day. So it can vary. So the best recommendation would be to, as soon as the student enrolls, go ahead and have them check their Student Center to view their charge due date. Financial aid is always going to be released 10 days before each semester begins. So just keep that in mind. If your student's going to be receiving full financial aid that's going to pay for everything, they do not need to make a payment out of pocket. They can wait for that disbursement to occur 10 days before the semester begins. And disbursements are normally issued. The refund is right before the start of the semester. Again, we'd really recommend signing up for e-refund because that's the most secure and quickest way to receive that refund right back to that bank account you put down. Some payment options. I've mentioned the online payments, so that would be e-check, which pulls directly from your routing and account number from your bank account. You can pay with a credit card online as well. Just keep in mind there's a 2.65% service fee with that. Third-party payments, so that would be like a company or like a government agency that is going to sponsor and pay for the student. We would handle that as well. College savings plans, so those 529 checks that come in, we can accept those for tuition fees. and our cashiering office in person. They accept cash, check, money order, or debit card. And then, of course, financial aid is an option as well to pay down the fees. So you can use, one of these options or many of them combined to take care of tuition and fees. And just to review some common questions we get asked. So if I receive financial aid, do I need to pay by my assigned due date? If financial aid is going to cover everything, you do not need to pay by the assigned due date. The student just needs to make sure that all their aid has been accepted and is showing as pending on their account. Next question we commonly get, I don't receive enough financial aid to cover all of my fees. When do I need to pay my portion? So if aid is only going to cover like a small portion of your fees, you would need to pay that difference by the assigned due date. So if you're receiving a state university grant and it pays tuition but not the mandatory fees, you would just have to pay the mandatory fees, and you would wait for the financial aid to disperse and pay down the remaining balance 10 days before the semester begins. I can't pay my balance all at once. Do you have payment options? Yes, we do offer installment plans on the Student Center. They're going to select enroll in a payment plan, and it's going to show a preview of the new due dates and how much they would owe on each date. If that looks good, they can click enroll, and it will charge a $33 non-refundable fee for signing up a plan. And then you just stick with your new due dates there and just pay on time to avoid any late fees or enrollment cancellation. How do I get my aid to pay my fees? So financially, it's going to be automatic 10 days before the semester begins. Financially, it's going to pay down tuition fees first. And if there's any excess amount, that's going to go towards then, if the student is staying in housing, it's going to go towards housing costs. And then if there's still any left over, that's what's going to be refunded back to the student. And again, hopefully through e-refund. So definitely encourage them to sign up for that on their student center. And our office is open. Student financial services, we could be reached via our phone lines from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. The cashiering office, they're open Monday through Friday as well from 9 to 5 p.m. So if you need to pay in person, any account questions, any enrollment holds, we're here to help and answer those kind of questions. There is a lot of information, especially for first-time folks. So I do recommend, we have our website, the link's right there, but you can Google CSULB Student Financial Services. It'll take you to our homepage. We have all of our information there, as well as how-to guides. And I'll share our QR code right there. That'll take you to our how-to guide webpage, where we provide step-by-step directions with screenshots and videos of how to do all the basic things we just talked about today, like making a payment. It kind of takes the guesswork out of it. So I do recommend this as a helpful tool, because I know throwing a lot of information at you guys, so it will make things a little bit easier if you can visualize it through our how-to guides. And so at this point, definitely if anyone has questions, I'm more than happy to review and answer those.
Are any of your students getting financial aid, or are you guys all paying out of pocket? Do you know if they've already accepted their aid? Are they getting grants, or is it loans? The grants will go automatically. Loans have to be accepted. They have to watch us. Well, I always recommend that you stay away from loans if you can afford it. The financial aid has a small mini class they make you take. They make you take a little training, or the student. But there are loans. There are loans a student can take, and there are also ones called Parent Plus. Our financial aid department actually covers that. They would work with the student to see what they're eligible for, and then if they sign up for the loans, then it gets dispersed through their account. Anything that's owed to the student, we would reimburse back to the student. But to the extent possible, I highly recommend trying to apply for just the regular financial aid that you don't have to pay back, federal and state aid. And there's a lot of scholarships out there that I try to encourage anybody to look at before they look at loans. That's just my 2 cents.
And I see someone's receiving like tuition waiver from the veteran program. Just as a reminder, if you haven't already, like you'll work with our veteran services office here on campus. Um, and then once they process a lot of waivers, then it'll come to us as like the final step, and we'll go ahead and get that posted onto the student account. If for any reason, if that's delayed or anything like that, you can definitely reach out to us as well. Our next, if the student's already registered for classes, our next major deadline is July 17th. So if we don't have that waiver on that account, reach out to us. We have our sponsorships at csulb.edu. That'd be a great email to just send us a quick note. We can make sure that that student doesn't get dropped from their classes, while we're waiting for the Veteran Service Office to process some of that paperwork. If there are any delays, hopefully everything's going smoothly, but we're here to ensure that, everyone's taken care of.
But if you are getting financial aid too, that may come through first, because the way the military reimbursements work, they will pay last. Correct, Robert? Yes,
Yeah,
so
for most, so
they
it
will.
really depends on each, financial
Yeah,
aid award package for sure.
yeah. They will usually let financial aid clear first, and then they will look at what's still needed to be paid, and then they would pay it. But if you've got financial aid, you probably already have an indicator on the student's account, meaning, you know, that we wouldn't be dropping for non-payment if you have two forms of alternate payments. Is there anybody that's paying out of pocket that needs to know how to make payments? When we say e-refund, in the real world, it means direct deposit. It's just what our vendor calls um, direct deposit. They call it e-refund, so it's a little confusing. But if you, doesn't matter if you're paying out of pocket or if you're on financial aid, it's really important for the student to have an account set up that we can deposit the aid back to. It goes so much faster than if we have to issue a paper check. And I know Robert already said that, but the amount of time that it takes to mail out the paper checks, it just delays everything for everybody. So if if you do anything, get your student on either your bank account, put it online, or get a checking account for them and have them put their information online. Again, it's not their debit card, it is the bank routing number and checking account number. Some students assume it's the debit card number. It's not. So I hope that helps.
I
Also,
also did.
I know he said it, but our office is open 5 days a week. We're not virtual. So whether you guys show up in person or on the phone, or you email, you will get a response from our office.
I also did see a question in the chat from Dana asking, what's the best place to get more information regarding additional aid or scholarships? Do you all have any input on that?
Yes, that's the financial aid office. So we work with them. We are not the financial aid office. We process, there has to be a separation of duty between them awarding funds and us paying the money out. So I know all of the scholarships are listed online, but if you haven't already applied for financial aid, I would have them submit a FAFSA. Most parents have. Do you know if all of you have submitted FAFSAs? Um, because that's step one. That'll determine whether you're eligible for any federal or state aid first. And then the scholarships are completely independent of that. And there is just hundreds of scholarships out there. And that they're not, I mean, there's every different reason to try to get a scholarship. Just, it's free money. Apply for it if your student's eligible.
And then I also linked the financial aid, their contact page in the chat. It might be helpful to have a conversation with like a financial aid counselor. They can go over some in greater detail some of the financial aid options available, especially for every student has a unique circumstance. So that might be helpful to have a conversation with them.
Do you know if your students have submitted FERPA agreements for you? And what that means is whether the parent can have access into their student's account. Because sometimes a parent will call us and we can't speak to the parent until the student has granted access because the students are now adults. So that's something else to check with your student. If you're trying to call us and ask what is due or what your options are, your student first has to have given you permission to do that. So that's another important element that we run up against. Just this last semester, we opened an option where you parents or other people can just make payments on the student's behalf without going into their student account. So you wouldn't see all of their information. You could just post a payment onto their account. So that's a great help. That circumvents having to do the FERPA. But if you are someone like, particularly with the VA, that the funding is coming because of somebody else, you might want to make sure that your student has signed you up under a FERPA agreement. And all of that is online also.
Okay, and I can see in the chat a couple questions there. Just to follow up on that, FERPA, your student will be able to go into their student center, and under the personal information tab, they'll be able to select, it's called FERPA, FERPA, information release form. It's a quick form. They designate who they want to be able to speak on their behalf, and they'll create a security question and answer. So, and then as soon as they save that, we'll be able to view that digitally. And then the other question was about the 529 process. So if you are going to be paying with a 529 savings plan, once the student is enrolled and you know how much the tuition and fees will be, you can reach out to your 529 provider and have them cut us a check. They can make it out to like attention cashiers, and then they'll use our Long Beach address, the 1250 Bellflower Boulevard. I'll put that in the chat as well.
Most of the big 529 plans already have us as a vendor. So you can say Cal State Long Beach and they know to send it to us. It comes to our cashier department and we post them the same day. Looks like Dana has a question. Did you want to unmute? You got your hand raised, Dana? Or was that from before?
There we go.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. On the FERPA form, is that a blanket? Like once they fill it out once, it's just good for eternity, and it's on their file that we can reach out on their behalf, or is that something that needs to be filled out over and over again?
No.
Just the ones.
Just the ones. Okay, perfect. That's helpful because yeah, I had reached out via email and got a really great response about a bunch of stuff, but they're like, yeah, you're gonna need to call with your daughter and have her fill out the form. And so I have the form, like I'm like, here, you need to fill this out. So just waiting on that so I can get some more information. So
yeah, we're always able to give generic information, but we're not allowed to look up a student's account until we do have that.
Okay, perfect. And then, like you said, you put in the chat about reaching out for more opportunities for the tons of scholarship money that's out there. And the student again has to initiate that, correct?
You could look generically on our account there. I mean, online for the scholarships. I don't think they have to log in to see that. But there are internal scholarships that are only available to Cal State Long Beach students. And then there are things from outside entities, sometimes employers, sometimes public, other agencies that you may find out about outside of this place that can be routed to us. So internally, we're only going to have the ones that we've been tagged in or supported by that we're actually holding the funds for now. And when I say us, I mean financial aid, but that doesn't limit. There are scholarships that we don't have access to, sometimes through Congress people, sometimes through outside employers. So I would say look for everything and try to exhaust any scholarship opportunities you have, because I think it's a far better option than going into debt for education. I use that as the last response. If you,
Yeah, of
if you
course.
have to get loans, you do. But if you can avoid it by getting federal and state aid first and scholarships second, then when your student graduates, they're free and clear.
Perfect. Yeah, that's the goal, right?
Good.
And not to hog the mic here, but I
No,
had
it's-
one more quick question, if it's okay.
Yes.
So my daughter had some confusion around how to accept some of the financial aid and grant stuff in her profile. And so she reached out. They said, you know, give a call to further explain. And then she had a challenging week this week with volunteering for something. And so her timing was off, but she waited on hold for quite a while yesterday to get through to get the questions answered. And I'm just wondering if there's any advice on, like, you know, time of day that's best to call, or, you know, things like that, so she can get through.
Is she local? Or do
We're
you
up
live?
in the Bay, we're in the Bay Area up near, yeah.
Um, this is
I
inside
know.
tip. I would call our department and ask someone to transfer over because you might get through faster. But there is a limit to their queue.
Okay.
And their queue is busier than anybody else's. I would say Fridays are less busy.
Okay.
And they open up at 9 a.m. So maybe earlier in the morning too. We're kind of right when they open up their
Perfect.
lines.
Okay, and that's that number that was on the screen, the 562-985-5471.
And then financial aid is option number 4. We're
Yeah.
option number 3 for student accounts, and then option 4 is going to be financial aid.
Okay,
So the phone number is the same for enrollment services, for admissions, us, and for financial aid. It's just when you hear the recording, it'll tell you which number to press to get to which department. But for most of the aid, she doesn't have to accept it. Only loans have to be accepted. The rest of the aid is automatically awarded now.
oh, perfect.
So that should help.
Okay.
They automated that maybe a year and a half ago.
Mhm.
So if it's a grant, if it's Pell, SEOG, what they call SUG or Cal grants, those are basically automatically accepted for the student because it's free aid.
Okay,
It's only loans that you have to go through a different process for. And again, we're speaking on behalf of financial aid. We're not the financial aid department, but we do work with them.
got it. Okay, well, I'm hopeful that she'll get her question answered. She can, there's like subsidized loan that's available to her, and she can't accept it, so she doesn't know how to move forward with that. So we'll give a call. I really appreciate it.
So she may have to go through the training. There is a small video series they have to watch so that they understand that they are accepting a loan that has to be paid back.
Got it.
So she may not have gone through all before you can accept it. You have to have gone through and watched it and a sign that you have you understand that you're signing up for a loan. So that may be the holdup. That's just based on what we hear.
Sure. Okay, that's helpful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and there is enough time to initiate it. Yes, there's plenty of time to get 529 payments in. We're only at the beginning of July and classes don't start for 5 weeks yet, almost 6 weeks. So there's absolutely time to, if someone's still initiating, we get them in the mail every single day. So if there's money out there that can be sent, go ahead. And if you were to pay your students tuition, or if they had other aid and the 529 money comes in afterwards, any excess would be refunded.
The financial aid, yes. And then for housing charges, they're going to be placed like in early August. So at that point, you'll also know by then how much like pending aid you have. So you can do you can always give us a call, or you could do the math too to see like, okay, if I have $1,000 of financial aid coming in subtracted from my housing costs, then you'll know how much like the difference will be at that point. But you could always give us a call too, and we can review that and let you know exactly how much that difference is and what you need to initiate with your 529 provider.
Okay. And the housing depends on which building you're staying in. The charges are different depending on which dorm you're in. So has that been established? Because the rates are a little different. But they're still, basically it's almost the same cost as the tuition. It's close. It's just over $1,000 a month, at least $1,000 a month regardless.
And then meal plans too are all variable rates as well. So a lot of different factors go into those housing costs, but we'll have that posted from the housing department early August.
Is anybody else in housing?
Yeah, we're just waiting to hear. I think my daughter said that she saw something come through that she might hear something tomorrow. I don't know. But yeah, we're waiting.
Again, your daughter could probably call our department and find out quite a bit just by talking to our staff if they can't get through to financial aid, because we can look at their account and see what is posted. So like we can't do that live with you guys all on the line, but your daughter could call
Okay,
and
thank you.
Robert and his staff, and we even have a couple student assistants that can help.
Perfect.
Anyone else have any questions we can assist with?
Do all of your students have independent checking accounts from you? Because if they don't, you can use yours. The only disadvantage of doing that is any refunded funds would go back into your account, they wouldn't have access to it. So we try to encourage students to get a checking account. And if they don't have one yet, we do have a credit union on campus, Long Beach schools, and they're very used to helping students. So they're very student friendly. And they can set that up once they get here if they don't have one already. One thing that I'm going to bring up that most parents aren't aware of right now is most of the books are available as electronic books now. And so rather than students buying every single textbook, there's a single charge, either full or part-time, for electronic textbooks, which is a huge savings. Now, if your student is in a unique subject matter that really relies on paper books, particularly if they have workbooks, they can be exempted from that if they have to buy the paper book. Most of them are going to opt for the ebook, and it is hundreds of dollars cheaper per semester than buying the paper books. But they can opt out of it if they do want paper books. Some people like paper books, and that's fine. I do. But it is a huge savings if they use the ebooks, and it's just a full-time fee, a charge, or a part-time, depending on their enrollment status. But maybe, if they're in nursing and they require them to have the books, then they opt out of it. Could we help with anything else? Well, I'll say again, our office is here 5 days a week. We're not virtual. We're here in person, on the phones, and by email. You will get a pretty quick response from my department. So anytime you guys have problems, just call. If you end up showing up, show up. We're here. We're behind the cashier's office. I'm here 5 days a week. Robert's here 5 days a week. The managers are all here. So we'll try to help every step of the way. It's not unusual for us to walk people around campus to help other people get answers, particularly with things like the VA, because we know how slow some processes are. So if you run into any snags, call our department. We'll try to route it for you.